ladies and gentlemen, you have waited all week.
Yeah, Boogie Page. Throwing it down for All Things BMX is ready. I know I am. Just hack the ATB Airways. Let's kick it. All Things BMX. It's a BMX show. Unlike the rest, if we need some info, they got the best. Like and subscribe, kick back and relax. Said it's All Things BMX. It's a BMX show. Unlike the rest, if we need some info, they got the best. So like and subscribe, kick back and relax. All Things BMX is streaming to you. So post up on your couch, screencast to YouTube. It's gonna be fun, it will be a blast. You gotta do much but kick back and relax. They coming to you live from a studio, or they might be at the track, man, you never know. So don't go anywhere when my rhymes are done, cause the show's just starting, let's have some fun. I said it's All Things BMX, it's a BMX show. Unlike the rest, if you need some info, they got the best. So like and subscribe, kick back and relax. I said it's All Things BMX, it's a BMX show. Unlike the rest, if you need some info, they got the best. So like and subscribe, kick back and relax. All Things BMX got the boogeyman's back, so I wrote them this track to send some love back. T.H.E, Melissa, Chris and Paul, DJ Damon, can I get it, entertain y'all? And I wonder who they'll have on the show as a guest. I bet someone good who's gonna impress. Guess I will just have to wait and see. Let's get the show going and start the party. I said it's All Things BMX, it's a BMX show. Unlike the rest, if you need some info, they got the best. Like and subscribe, kick back and relax. I said it's All Things BMX, it's a BMX show. Unlike the rest, if you need some info, they got the best. So like, subscribe, kick back and relax.
Welcome to the All Things BMX Show. Tonight, we bring you episode 173, Captain Elbows. We have Toby Henderson joining us. Toby's a 1994 USA BMX Hall of Famer, along with a 2000 US Bicycling Hall of Fame inductee. And he's got a lot of experience and a lot of riding behind him. And we're looking forward to talking about a lot of different topics as we talk about all things BMX this evening. And Toby's going to be joining us on the Danger Snacks video line as all our guests come in on. The ATB crew is coming to you from the studios here in Heartland, Michigan. Danger Snack brings our guest each and every week, and he was out announcing this weekend at Frogtown, giving us some love with Mike Miller on the microphone. We want to hear your guys' stories from Frogtown. If you guys were there, let us know. Or if you were like myself and Chris, we were just watching from social media. We'll be there.
Share some pictures in our chat tonight, man.
Or post them. We don't care, man.
Yeah, put them
You guys don't forget, you can send support to the show by sending stars if you're watching on Facebook right below, or you can go over to our Buy Me a Coffee page and support us over there. Chris and I are sitting here at the DeSoto desk.
Right now.
That's right. You guys, and Melissa's brought to you by Gate 9. She's off this evening. Take care of cheer duties with little Laura.
Cheerleading season.
That's right. The show's chat is sponsored by BMX Rocks Photography, and they bring you our chat question for this evening. And our chat question for this evening is, what is your go-to pre-race meal? I'd like to know what that is. What's yours?
Mine? It's usually breakfast.
Yeah?
Yeah, usually a couple of eggs and some toast.
There you go.
And some fruit, like raspberries, blueberries, banana, something like that.
Probably a lot same for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I just smash the eggs and have some 110 protein. Speaking of 110, they bring us the lightning round each and every week. Show doesn't happen without the support from Answer BMX, Dye Job Apparel, and Bombshell BMX. Before we bring our guest in, we're going to shamelessly plug.
I should have said chocolate cake.
A little chocolate cake for the race. We're going to shamelessly plug an event we got coming up because we got tons of support behind this, and we're looking forward to it.
This is awesome.
So we'd like to see each and every one of you guys out there. This is our whole shot challenge. It's the Iron Bell Brawl. We're looking forward to everybody coming out. We've got lots of people stepping up and helping out for this event. We got two $50 gift cards from DB Sports. We got $100 from ASN BMX, and all these cash donations are going to go to the podium payouts for the whole shot challenge. We have 4 classes that we're going to be doing. We also got another $100 from BMX Rocks, and Bombshell sent a pit bike over for us. We're going to be raffling that off.
Nice.
Also, Crank and Fitness Cycle from Lapeer, thank you.
Michigan.
Yep.
Yeah.
They jumped in and they're donating a race bike.
Wow.
They told me on Thursday night. We've got swag coming from Ghetto Wear, and we got a gift basket from T.H.E Bikes. And Hack Shack is making the most unique award you can win.
Really?
So they're going to make some of the sprint stands, which you can order right from Hack Shack.
Hack Shack.
But they're going to make some limited edition gold sprint stands for the winners.
Hey.
It's the only way you're going to get them. Got to win.
I might have to get in on this. I was just thinking about going out there and kind of doing.
We have the 40 and over class.
The ATB walk around and take pictures and that type of thing.
Yeah, we got that 40 and over class, man.
Dude. Yeah, so this is at Richfield Park BMX up in Davison, Michigan.
Get out there.
Just
Saturday.
north of where we're at here.
September 30th.
September 30th, Saturday night. And, you know, if you guys are coming into here thinking this is going to be some really serious stuff, if you're not out there to have fun, you might as well stay home because it's going to just be
DJ Damon's going to be on the ones and twos. It's going to be a good time. And without further ado,
let's do it.
Let's welcome our guest in this evening.
There he is.
Toby, how you doing this evening?
I'm here. I'm doing great. How about you guys?
Oh, fantastic.
Good.
We're so excited to have you here.
Yes, welcome into the show.
Cool.
All right.
Glad to be here.
All right, so here we go. Toby, let's start off with how did you find out about or get involved in the sport of BMX racing?
Man, you guys were talking about Frogtown a little bit earlier, and I got asked that same question, and I've never had a great answer for that. But I'll go back to the very start. 5 years old, ride my bike down the sidewalk, got squirrely, went off the curb, and I pulled it off. Didn't crash. That little bit of air I think I got basically hooked me. So by the time I was 9 years old, I was grabbing every piece of wood I could out of the garage and taking my sister's Huffy and launching this thing, right? So, yeah, I was just hooked about jumping my bike in the air and having a great time on the bike, giving me that freedom with paper route, all that kind of thing. Then when I turned 12, I was working in a bike shop. I heard about a BMX race, Norwalk, Hollyfield Park. You guys have probably heard about that before. About a 4-mile bike ride from my house. I'm 12 years old, and I rode my bike to the park, paid 25 cents. We had a flag start, and I came home with a ribbon. That was basically how I got hooked, right? So,
and that was with
I think that
Scott Bridehop.
No, Bums was Scott. So I think a year later we went to Bums, but Hollyfield Park. No, that was where Botima, Tinker Juarez, these guys were all riding. It was just a park where they dug a big ditch up and left the dirt in the corner and built a track on the dirt hill. And then all the teams started coming. It was quite a popular place. All the teams started coming. Kawasaki team, Dirt Masters, they all made appearances. And I was a little kid who could ride my bike there and watch this whole thing. And that was kind of the beginning of it all. You know, that flag start and that ribbon and 25 cents to ride my bike. So
about what year was that?
So 74. Now I'm dating myself. Come on, guys.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
How rad would a flag
was good.
start be?
You think we could pull?
75 is when we wound up going to Bums and getting my way to Bums BMX track. You know, that was kind of tough. But I think that was a year later when we actually got to go there and do that with Scott and everything. So
do you think we could pull off a flag start today's world?
Oh God, you know, people would complain and cry and cheat or what?
I know.
My God, yeah. These guys take it too seriously sometimes,
way
man.
too serious.
Yeah. Hey, if you're not having fun, it's not worth doing, man. Got to have fun.
Well, last weekend we had fun in Frogtown, but there was some serious stuff going on. But I really like that event just because it's just no pressure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, come back and my big thing is a race against Stewart and got to do it again. And it's a long story. Not so much this weekend. I a little early to show you my bruising.
Oh,
but
here we'll zoom in on that just a second.
Yeah. You want to see that, right? It's pretty ugly. So I took a big digger.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
I need a better mechanic because air pressure problems. But a long story. I should know better, right? Anyway, so no, we had a good time and it was so much fun. And I think that's back in the day, that's what it was like. You know, you go to a place and most of the tracks back then were just a field kind of cut out, put a starting gate, put some hay bales, and just go down this course, right?
Right.
Build a little jump with a shovel and nothing like today, but that's what Frogtown was all about, and we had a great time, and I think that's why we all started going BMXing, right?
Right. So would you say the Frogtown was very reminiscent of the beginnings back when?
For sure. I think that the course itself was the whole point was, you're not going to run clips on this course. Soft, just drop offs. The jumps were very mild mannered, off camber turns, water hole jump. When was the last time we saw that? Right.
Right.
So, but basically, yeah. I mean, even though I ride a modern bike in the race, I don't think I could ride one of those old ones. I just, some guys were doing it. They're doing a great job at it. But yeah, the whole scene, it was an easy, fun day. The motors were late. It's a mess. It's chaos, right? Yeah, just like it was back in the day, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah, we had a good time for sure.
Oh, I got to get there, man. It just sounds like so much. Just to be a spectator would be awesome.
Did you make it down to the Dirty Fest too?
Yeah, I raced that too. So
Nice.
all the races I've been in so far, I've made the main on all of them.
Congrats.
I haven't won one yet. I almost won the one last year. Me and Stuart in the second to last corner basically ran into each other. This year I didn't make it just because I crashed in practice, so got hurt pretty bad. So I'm sitting here with probably should be in a wheelchair.
It's surprising more people don't leave those events in wheelchairs than those that do.
Right.
So these events, remind you and take you back to the fun times and getting started back in the sport when the tracks weren't kind of what they are now. When you had started and your amateur time, you said you started around 12 years old?
Yeah, so my very first race when I was 12, yeah.
Okay. How did you progress through those, before you kind of turned pro and things like that? Like how what'd that look like?
Yeah, for me, it's a great story, and I get to tell it now and then. But so I'm 12, and I'm racing, and we're going out to the Orange Y BMX track, and we had a Rama track. I forget exactly what that was. It was in a sand pit somewhere out here in Orange County, and getting to go there on Wednesday nights and Saturday nights, and got a little sponsor from Jeff Botima's uncle. Before I even knew Jeff, these are two high school students, Butch and Charlie, who saw my talent on the track. I think I'm 13 at that point. Had a crappy bike. They bought me a bike. Yeah, so that's kind of weird. Two high school kids buying me a bike. I was 13 years old, and I started racing that bike, and that thing kind of, fell apart. It just was the same thing over and over and over. But I turned 16. I got a motorcycle and started racing high school motocross. So we had a motocross team on school. You got a letterman's jacket for it. And there was a couple dozen schools within Southern California that would go out to places like Saddleback Park and stuff and race each other, school against school. So I was doing that all through high school, digging ditches all week and earning like $70 and going to have to buy a tire and entry fee. And that $70 was gone by Monday morning racing my motorcycle. And then Botima, who was kind of near me, up by Hollyfield Park, and I knew him through that sponsor, invited me to come to a BMX race on a Sunday afternoon in Downey, California. I think at this point, I'm 16 and a half, something like that. So I went and raced my motorcycle that morning, and I hadn't been on a BMX bike in quite a while. And I went raced motorcycle that morning, went to Downey, and watched Jeff win this BMX race. He won $300 on a Sunday afternoon. So he finished the line, we're all there, and I'm like, "What's that cool? What'd you do, man?" He goes, "I just won $300." I'm like, "What?" What? And I'm like, all my brain was thinking, you dug ditches all week long, right? And then you spent all that money to go race your motorcycle. And Monday morning, literally the next morning, I sold my motorcycle, took that money, and went straight to Ralph's Bicycles and bought a Redline BMX bike, the best I could get. Bullseye hubs, campy crank, all that swag at the time, right?
Right. Yeah.
And the way to become pro at the time, you had to win 16 and over novice or whatever they were calling it. Basically, you're not a pro. You're 16 and over below the pros. And you had to win that in the NBA to become a pro. The race is 2 or 3 months away. I just put my head down and said, I'm going to go win that race. I'm going to become a pro. I want to win $300 like Jeff Botima did, right?
Right.
And so I just started riding that bike at night all the time, going back out to the tracks and kind of getting back in the groove. It'd been a few years since I'd been on a BMX track. And anyway, we went to the race. It was in the Forum here in Los Angeles, which was, I don't know what, it wasn't where they did basketball games. They did something in the Forum, ice skating and stuff like that. Anyway, a little track on the cement with wooden ramps. And I basically went out to win that race, and I did. So I won that race, and basically across the finish line, they give me a pro license. And so at that point, Jeff says to DG at the time, "Hey, you got to sponsor this Toby guy. He's pretty good at this." So he got me on DG. I got a bike, and Jeff and I started traveling together, riding for DG. And the whole thing started. I was out trying to make money. Never really made any money until quite some time later. We got really lucky with the whole Raleigh deal. Raleigh came in, asked Chuck Robinson. These are great little tidbits. Raleigh had come to Chuck Robinson and said, "We're looking for two buddies who could travel around the world, race BMX for us." And Chuck goes, "I know two guys who get along really well, Toby and Jeff and Toby." So Raleigh comes to Jeff and I, and they say they want to sponsor us. And here we are riding for DG. And at the time, DG was a very elite company.
I was going to say, that was a big deal back in the day.
It was a big deal. I'm on DG, right?
Yeah.
Jeff had the DG van, and we're traveling around. We're just like rock stars, and but no money, right? I mean, I'm still digging ditches. I think warehouses. I wasn't making any money yet, and they came to us, and we're like, Raleigh, how dumb is that? Some road bike company. I mean, we couldn't even picture a BMX bike with them,
right?
But DG had just sold, and the new owners had a big grand opening down in San Diego. Jeff and I drove down there. And there was a race that weekend in San Diego, so it all worked out right. So we went to the new owners and said, "Okay, what are you going to do for us and our riding careers?" They had no answers for us. So they just didn't come up with anything, like our entry fees, anything, just nothing, right? Ed Smith was his name, good guy, but he just had nothing for us. And we go to his new building, it's empty. I think there's one bike there, and it's like, okay, you're the new owners of DG. What are you going to do? And Jeff and I raced that weekend. We went home, and we got our parents together, and we said, "What should we do?" And they basically said, they're going to give you some money to go racing. What else do you want? We're like, okay. So we went for it. So we just started, we'll go with this Raleigh thing. And boom, that's our whole careers just took off at that point. Raleigh's spending a lot of money on advertising, sends us all over the world. We're in Australia, we're in England, we're at every single race we could get to, flying all over the place. And anyway, so, the whole year of that was just fantastic, right? And all of a sudden the covers started coming, all the press and the magazine, they all wanted that Raleigh advertising dollar. That's what all the magazines wanted. Sure. So of course I had my job. I had to ride. I had to do the job, and we were doing it. And then, somewhere about a year later, I finally won a big race, and we can go into that later, but I won a big race and put a bunch of money in my pocket, and that was it, man. That was it. I've been doing it ever since. I was 17 or 18 at the time. So, yeah.
How long did the Raleigh deal last?
Yeah, that's great stories. Year and a half, I think. I mean, we got let go in February of whatever year that was. I think 81 when we got let go, because 80 was a pretty good year. We never understood why. And if you want to hear some funny stories about that, we can.
Sure.
But
absolutely.
Yeah, I know you guys don't like that. So yeah, we went to ride for Raleigh, and they take us over to England, and they had and this is where the whole politics of the sport and the business side of the sport all starts to play into sales. And we can go into my mountain bike career and how I knew to follow sales to get as an athlete. You got to go where the sales are to make money and this kind of thing, right? So I didn't learn that. I learned that at Raleigh when I got 86th. But we went to England, and they had a bike called the Chopper, and they're doing well over 100,000 units a year of this bike that looked like a Schwinn apple crate. We all remember those, right? Mm-hmm. And but it was their English version of that, and they said they keep coming in and they're broken. The forks are breaking off, and these bikes are falling apart. We don't understand why. So they take me down to the lab, and they got this wooden belt that's kind of got bumpy, bumps on the belt, and it's going around and around. And they got this bike sitting on top with all these weights hanging off the bike, and the bike's just boom, 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 boom. They go, "It's been up there for 1,000 hours, nothing breaking." And they had them like kind of hanging in the place.
Wow. It's like an R&D center or something.
Yeah, it was a shop, R&D shop. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The lab. Yeah. Went at box now. I learned my lessons with that. So give me one of those. They're hanging up. Literally, I'll never forget. There were about 10 of them hanging up on the wall there on hooks. They handed one to me, and I rode across the lab, bunny hop as high as I could, which was pretty high back then, and just hard as I could slam this bike down, 4 pieces. One just slam, and it's like, wow, okay, so we get it. The kids are riding these bikes differently than what these machines are testing for. So the next day we go up into the corporate offices. We go into the president's, or the meeting room, and there's this meeting room, and it's probably 10 guys, each size long. You know, the president's at one end. You got all his staff. Everybody's in suits. I'm in there in my uniform, me and Botima, and my uniform showing on my bike, which was a mongoose with Raleigh stickers, right? And Raleigh USA was selling those bikes. Skip Hess was making them, but they had different gussets on them, and they had Raleigh logos on them. So I'm on this bike, and the president says to me, he says, well, tell us about what is BMX? I had no idea. So I said, well, watch this. I got on my bike, went down the hallway, and I come hauling towards that desk. I buddy hopped up onto the desk, and I flying up to the president, skidded on that desk right up to the president, and go, that's BMX. I don't know if that got, I don't know if that got me fired or not, but I did get fired eventually. But
oh my gosh.
Yes, no, I literally, when people say, oh, I did it. So I'm 17, hair down to my butt. And at the time, who cares? I was riding bikes for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Right.
So then the next day they put me out into a field with a VCR. Your listeners know what that is. A VCR sized computer on my back. And they ran all these wires to all the stress points of the chopper. They said, go out here in this field and ride this bike. And of course, one jump, it would break, and we'd have to fix it, and on and on. This went on all day long, and testing the bike for them. But that was their bid to try to get into BMX. And we flew back to California, and we thought everything was great. And I had a pretty good year that year. I almost won the number one. All I had to do was get third in the main or something, and Anthony Sewell falls in front of me and crashed into him, and I don't get the third, and I lost my number one. I think Greg won it that year, 1980. So everything was going good. I won 7 nationals that year. It was a really good year for Raleigh, riding a crappy bike. And so here's January, February. I'm ready to start my season again. And I call Raleigh, and they go, well, we're going to have to let you go.
Ouch.
What?
Oh.
What? Yeah, it's like, okay. I don't know what's going on with that. So anyway, I did find out later on. I finally got to talk to some of my sponsors, or some of my people that worked there, and they thought it was going to be a fad. Mm-hmm. They made a prediction that it was going to be like skateboards, and skateboards had just tanked because of BMX bikes at the time, sales wise, and they didn't want to take the risk on investing any more into BMX. So that was it. We were out. So Jeff, we're scrambling for rides, and Botima winds up at Murray, and I'm like, well, I'm the one winning races. Botima goes gets this fancy ride at Murray, and I went and borrowed a bike from Tioga, and I went to a race, and I won it, and then next thing, finally, I get a call from Hutch, and Hutch is an East Coast company, and he says, we'll take a chance at you. So I'm okay. So I call my dad. I go, Dad, I need a truck. I need to get to this race, right? Because I had this old truck, and my dad helped me get a truck, and I put my bike in the back and went somewhere in the middle Midwest somewhere, and I won a race under Hutch. And that was it. Just started at that point. Just started racking up the wins and the titles and all that, and rode for Hutch 3 years, I think.
Wow.
Anyway, yeah, that was. I guess I don't know what the question was, but yeah,
no, it's fine. No,
that's how it all transitioned into my SE years, and then BMX and sales, going back to the whole business side of it. The sales started going towards freestyle guys, and I wake up one morning, there's just no rides, and I was almost had a ride with Schwinn after SE, and Stuart didn't have a ride, and I said to myself, if Stuart can't get a ride, I'm not getting a ride. That's the way I saw the whole thing. I'm not going to get a paid ride to go anywhere. So I basically stepped out of it and started racing mountain bikes, because that's where the sales were. And then my mountain bike career took me a few years. My mountain bike career took off, and a few years later, I'm racing downhill mountain bikes and still living the dream, right? So as a pro rider, I got to do a full 20 years. Between BMX 10 years and mountain bikes 10 years, and I retired at 38 years old and started developing product. Yeah.
Wow. So
I was reading up, and said 94 you won your first downhill race. How long was it from then until you started your basically your retirement, and then you started that transition kind of into the business side after you won that first downhill?
Yeah, I was so focused on making money on my bike again, because it was a gap where I didn't, and the family business was insurance, and I did not want to be in the insurance business, right? I just got, the job was always there, and I would train all day long. I'm going to become this mountain bike guy. At the time, downhill hadn't started, so I was training to be a cross country guy. I was lucky enough to get a ride from GT. I was their original mountain bike guy. There was a couple of us, but I was one of the original mountain bike guys at GT. It was a company near the house. and I was training a lot, but I was getting to the point where I could get a top 10 expert, but no way could I run up a mountain like the pros. It was just a whole nother league and a whole nother level. Never really got that to that point where that I could do it. I went to a race somewhere in Georgia, and they had like, okay, cross country, slalom, and downhill, combine your points, right? So I won the slalom and I won the downhill. My times were faster in the downhill than Tomac at the time, but my cross country score was crap. So I basically won the other two events. I won a set of wheels or handlebars. I'm like, I can't make a living doing this. Went home, about ready to get inside the insurance business, but I gave it a few years, and I got a call from Mammoth, said, we're going to do this downhill race called the Kamikaze. So I went up to the Kamikaze, and it was just 4 miles of blasting down a mountain. I'm fit from all the cross country riding, got the back skills, and I wound up winning the very first Kamikaze race. And at that point, it's okay. I'm all into this. I'm all in. And I'm at that point 29 years old. You know, I'm 29, and I'm like, I'm all in, and put my bike in the back of my truck. And went to the races and started chasing races, and a few years later the whole scene of downhill got really, really big, and I think I won my first championship in '94, which is Downhill Mania, and made a bunch of money doing that, and it just became a serious World Cup circuits and all the things that we were doing, and that's where the sales were, and the money was absolutely crazy what we were getting paid to race downhill, and yeah, so I wound up I rode for Iron Horse East Coast Company for about 7 years. And then I wound up the last 2 years with Giant. And the first two prior to that, I was with GT for a couple of years. So yeah, almost 11 years riding a mountain bike.
Dang. Wow. It's a big career.
Yeah,
it's like you hit BMX when it was peaking back in the day, and then you hit the mountain bike just as it was taking off too.
Yeah, and that goes back to what I first started saying, is you got to follow the sales. And if I could ever give an athlete any kind of advice, it'd be, what are we selling? Where are the sales at in the industry? Go do well at that, because that's where you're going to get paid, right? Be it freestyle, BMX, whatever it is, right? Right now, I don't know what I would say if it was right now.
That was going to be my question. What would you say right now would be where the sales would be?
God, I don't know. I think some of the top cross country guys are doing okay, but I guess roadie at this point, gravel guy bikes with the sales are gravel right now. But if I was me, I'd go ride e-bikes. E-mountain is really where it's coming to. It's a lot of pro races. I did do that for a while, about 4 years ago. I was doing Troy Lee had the Boogaloo races, and I was doing those and doing really well at them. And then once that kind of caught on, all the young skinny kids got involved, and I was out at that point. Old fat guy is not gonna, the motor's not gonna help that much. So yeah, so no, I think the e-bikes are the future for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll in the professional racing is starting to become pretty big. So
yeah,
I go ride an e-mountain bike for sure.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm waiting for the e-bikes when they're going to start souping those things up and tweaking them, and
it's already done.
It's happening, but laws, legalities, and all that's still going on. So it all play out over time, but
yeah,
we'll see. Yeah.
Hop up kits for Striders already, or whatever the. Not
Stay Six.
Thank you. Yeah, Stay Six. Yeah. Hop up kits for those.
Oh my gosh.
But now, okay, so that kind of takes us up to where you're transitioning from being the professional athlete. What did the timeline look like from, okay, I'm retiring from being a professional athlete, and you coming into the industry, and where did you start in the industry?
Well, so when I was 12, I worked at a bike shop, and I got a Schwinn sticker, and I went home and I put that Schwinn sticker on my mirror, and I just had this feeling I wanted to design bicycle parts for a living. And next thing you know, I'm 14, 15 years old, I'm racing, and next time I'm a pro, and 20 years goes by. But my last year as a pro, I remember I was riding for Giant, and I had an idea of a stem, and my bike wasn't working the way I wanted it to work. The stems were really long back then, and I really wanted to bring my bars back, pull the front of my bike out, arguing with Giant for a while about my top tube lengths and trying to get some custom frames out of them. And I'm going through that. So I had this idea for a stem. I wanted my stem mounted to my fork because I didn't want my stem. So I basically wanted a motocross style front end, right? And anyway, so I'm going to chairlift. And I should be looking at the trail, focusing on the trail. All I could focus on was this handlebar setup that I wanted and missing. And I remember at that point, I go, man, you're not focusing on riding. You're only focusing on the product. So went out, finished out my career, and or was riding for Giant at that point. And a friend of mine that I went to school with came to me and said, hey, I want to make a product. And I go, yeah, me too. Let's make something. I talked about the stem, and we're working on that. And he goes, what else should we be working on? And I just lost a downhill race. By a second, which was, if you guys know, but top 5 guys in downhill race are on the same second. Even after 5 minutes, we're all, top 5 guys are on the same second. And I lost, got 5th or 6th or whatever by a second. And I remember what happened was I went into a turn and I went to pull a tear off, and I flubbed. I couldn't get my tear off, and I remember just not making a good pull, and which is important, getting the clip back in, pull, there's all this routine we had to go through. I didn't do a good one, and I said, if I didn't have to pull that tear off at that race, I might have won that. So I need some kind of fender, something to keep the mud out of my face. So we started talking about making a fender for the front of my bike. We couldn't figure it out. The tooling was to make a plastic fender was way out of our ability. And we went to a bike shop and we saw what's called vacuum forming on a helmet. It's a way to make plastic called vacuum forming. And we looked at each other and go, that's the answer. Went home and he basically made a mold, and we went to some local vacuum form maker and we made a fender out of vacuum plastic, cut it out with our fingers, and put it on the front of my bike and started riding this thing, and it's working really, really well. So a Big Bear's coming. It's the first national of the year. This is my last year riding, and we made 200 fenders from scratch, and we put all the top pros' names on them. And I knew all these guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we show up at Big Bear, and here's this one-in-a-lifetime storm comes through Big Bear and dumps 3 feet of snow on the track. So I remember going up, I had the fender on my bike, and I'm like, my goggles are clean and everything's working. And I go back down to Giant's truck where my pit crew was. And there's this line behind my truck of all the pros. I'm like, what's going on over there? My partner was there, and he goes, everybody's in line to put a fender on their bike. Like, what? And we had John Palmer, Lee Donovan, we had all their names put on these fenders that him and I hand cut the stickers, and we made one thinking we're going to give them to them, and they're going to go one day, hopefully go use them. Right. Anyway, so here it is. So we have these fenders in the front of the bikes, and usually the beginning of the year, all the photos are taken for all the races and all that for the magazines and ads and all that. Next thing we know, man, a month later, every ad, every poster had a big old T.H.E. fender on the front. T.H.E. was Toby Henderson Enterprises. And I've been running that logo for several years, trying to come up with the product. So anyway, we made this fender just success like you cannot believe. So I thought I knew what I was doing in the bicycle world. Boy, I didn't. Anyway, so we sold 500,000 of them in about 2.5 years.
Dang.
Right?
Wow.
At the point we had robots to cut them out, and I think the first 6,000 I cut by hand, because we just couldn't do it. Then we had to get a robot to cut it out and do all these, because we couldn't afford the injected tool, which we finally could, and that was later on. But but 2.5 years later, all of a sudden it wasn't cool to run a fender anymore. It just basically stopped. So that's when I learned my first hardcore lesson about the business side of bicycles. You ride that way for a while, but eventually it's going to go away. So that was my first product, my first success, and T.H.E. became a big name and a big hit. And that time, by the time I'm like 40, I retired it when I was 38. The last year I raced was 38. So it was a long career, and it just got to the point where I'll never forget. That year I was 38. It was 1998, and one of the French kids. I'm standing on these rocks section, probably about 100 foot of rocks. I mean, rocks, like this big. And I'm standing like, what's the best way to get through this thing? And I'm, going to grow on this one and go over that one. This is what I'm going to do. Here comes an 18-year-old French kid, just flew right across the top of all of them. Just touched the tops of all of them. And I'm like, well, that's not going to happen. At that point, I kind of knew it's time to start thinking about something else. And I did. I started focusing on the product, and I finished up my career. A couple wins that year, but wasn't the best year I ever had. And and went out and sold every part I could of my bike and body to everybody who wanted to pay the most. I was really adamant prior to that, being older. If the product wasn't good, I didn't want to accept the money. I really wanted to ride the best product where I thought was the best product. And I turned down a lot of deals to ride things that I felt would make me go faster, which parlays into my whole business career, I think. And I just, I started riding stuff that I didn't care anymore. That last year, just whoever had the most money, I just took.
Just trying to cash in as best you can.
After 20 years, you just need to leave with a couple bucks in your pocket. And I did, and it was a great year. And Raleigh, our Giant at the time, much like Raleigh in my BMX career, which was kind of the underdog. It was new. It was very Asian, Anyway, we had a good run with those guys, and I wound up retiring, and from that, and started selling fenders, man.
That's great.
Became Toby Henderson. Yeah,
Henderson.
That's great.
That's what all the pros would call me, Toby Henderson. So yeah,
hey,
I don't know if it's a jealousy or what, but that was my first product. It was, like I said, this, and then one day that. So
well, that seems to be kind of how it goes with BMX. Something's hot for a year or two, and then it's not.
I'm not going to tell specifics as trade secrets, but my staff, I was gone to Frogtown. I didn't really pay attention to my computer for a couple of days. And this morning, I finally, after basically wanting to go back to work, they all want me to make something because somebody says this is the new future. And I'm like, how many are we going to sell? What are we going to tool up for? What are we going to make something that's compatible with it? You need two parts. But they're all hot because somebody told them that I need to make this thing. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh man, it sounds like a fender to me.
Right. Well, that's the thing. The tooling's very expensive to start with. Yeah. And then you got, it just goes on from there. Machining or whatever it be, depending on what it is.
Yeah, it's. But I've been really fortunate. I've learned all that. I'm not an engineer. I'm not. I don't know. I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of guys around me and a lot of factories around me to go see how it's done. And I literally can walk to a factory and look around and create parts based upon their manufacturing capabilities. And then I start thinking about riding and how this, if I had this angled this way, with that kind of manufacturing, put it out this way, if it costs that much, this might be something viable, right? So spent a lot of years in factories figuring all this out. And I was telling you guys earlier, 926 SKUs at Box now, between our mountain bike and our BMX stuff. We manage all that. All are from the ground up. We pride ourselves on the fact that there's a thing called the TBG. It's Taiwan Bicycle Guide.
Oh yeah.
A lot of companies, a lot of companies buy product from that guide, put their name on it. And for me, it's kind of a price where there's no tooling, there's nothing, there's no real investment in that. Box doesn't have a single item in the entire 926 items that came out of a catalog or was not tooled up or engineered by our team. So so it's something that when I started Box after I sold VSI had a lot of TBG items. There's some of the brands that were sold off to other people. And I said I wasn't going to do that this time around. I took the money on the sale of that and to make sure that we would never do that again, or I would never do that again. And we made that a company policy to where we engineer and create every single part from what we think is right. And
that's cool.
Yeah. And it's not something to buy out of catalog by any means. So yeah.
So it's all designed and everything there. That's really cool.
Yeah. And then for Box, we have that whole oversized technology, and oversized technology for us. We've proven it on paper. We've proven it's engineering that it works. It does give you an advantage when you have a certain stiffness on your bike. And how I learned that, it was from my mountain bikes. Because my whole mountain bike career, when I started downhilling, I had a rigid bike. When I raced the Kamikaze race, I was telling you before, I think I had a front shock, right?
Right.
About an inch of travel. But when I had just gotten that, the year before, I was riding a rigid bike racing downhill. And when I retired, I had an 8-inch travel bike. So for that, 8 years, basically, I went from a rigid bike to an 8-inch travel bike. So I was a part of that whole process with some really great engineers. Asked me to ride, go down the hill, come back and report, change something, go back up, ride. I was very fortunate to do that. Shimano. I did that with the brakes. Some of the best times I ever had was to spend time with the guys like that, was to go out and ride and have them work on my bike and go back and do it again and spend weeks doing that. And that was a great job. It's just all I had to do was ride my bike down the hill, chair lift up, ride down. That's a tough day.
Yeah. But that gave you that whole background of the R&D and the testing and all that stuff that has to go on so they can figure out what do we make next.
Right. And what's the feedback of that? So what happened was I had a bike with a 10 millimeter axle, and they came out with a Rock Chalk. It came out with a boxer fork with a 20 millimeter axle. And the first time I went through the rocks on that, I got a completely different bike. So that experience is what I created the very first 20 millimeter axle fork. Now Box is known for the oversized stuff. And when I first came out with that, everybody's like, you don't need it. You don't want it. It doesn't really matter. And that was 15 years ago. And now every single pro's bike has a 20 millimeter axle up front, right? So we have big spindles. We're starting to run big axles in the back, our tapered handlebars, all the things we're doing. You know, Box makes a 35 millimeters axle spindle but you have a frame for that. It goes into why I got involved in other companies. But and I learned that from my mountain bike career, and I learned it from some great engineers who taught us how to go faster. And at one point, we actually had put a square axle in the front of the bike to make it even stiffer. It was too stiff. Forks didn't move, right? So I got to learn, a lot of that kind of stuff throughout my mountain bike career. So fortunate there. Yeah.
Wow. That stuff's really interesting to me. I find that really cool.
If you had to pick one Box product, you'd say that's the one right there that we designed, took to market. That was the feather in your cap. Which one would it be?
Oh, man, I want to say the cranks, but I haven't. We're launching a whole new bottom bracket system, which I think is the biggest advantage you can on your bike. But it's been the 31/8 taper bar for sure, because that took off. That's a staple. Other makers are doing it. We just launched our titanium version of it about a few weeks ago. We brought a few hundred in, gone the same day. We're talking about a $400 handlebar, so people will spend money on BMX stuff if it's right, but it's the titanium version of that is insanely light, stiff, sexy, everything it takes. So, but I think that really started the whole movement for oversized. If a guy rode a bike with this big interface at the stem, whatever. But when they went back to their bike and got on their 22 bar, and they realized, oh my God, the difference of the flex and all that was very, very apparent to the guys when they got to ride the 31/8. Then we went back. They didn't really know it when they ride it, but when they go back, right? So I think the handlebar, we won an award. We had Interbike BMX Park of the Year in 2012. Yeah, 2012, 2013, we won an award for that. So for me, I think that really put us on the map when it comes to how innovative we could possibly be. So,
Wow. Yeah. And you guys also had a V-bar.
We did that for Jared Garcia, because Jared Garcia had hit his neck and had lost his voice. Could change his voice patterns on his vocal box when he went over the bars once, and he hit his neck right here on his handlebar. So we made a V bar, crossbar for Jared, and called it the Jared bar, and he doesn't ride for us anymore, so we quit making it. But because if you ever watched him ride, his head is always below his number plate. It's just the way he rode, right? So I can imagine how, he was the way he rode and the way he went over jumps. He was lower than all. He just had this stance. But anyway, so we had a V bar for a while. Still oversized bar, but made for Jared.
Now, all right. So now I have a question. I'm probably going to sound silly asking this, but so oversized products, do they weigh more?
Okay, no, not necessarily. So when you make a bigger circle, you can make the material thinner. So our 35 millimeter spindle is aluminum, where most guys ride a 24 millimeter chromoly spindle. So when you go from chromoly to aluminum, it's way lighter than the chromoly, even though it's bigger.
Right.
And the thing is, anything between 24 and 35 doesn't work, right? Because if you go to 28, you got to be chromoly. You go to 30, should be chromoly. You really don't get the sweet spot until you get to 34 or 35 and above, right? So so not necessarily. No, our handlebars We run a lighter gauge material on the handlebar, so we might be the same as a 22 bar, but we're not heavier. Usually, because you can run a thinner material.
Okay. So it's got a thinner wall on the tubing.
Or a different material altogether, like spindles.
Okay. Yeah.
Very interesting.
That is cool.
We're going to take, well, this is a good place to pause, and we'll jump over to the chat room.
Okay.
And lots of people.
BMX Rocks Photography chat room.
Yeah, lots of people jumping in tonight, Toby. Ray Sink of Florida says they wanted to say hello. Rick Carter saying hi. Jeff DeVito. George Vicks checking in saying yo. Mike Melvin says, how you doing? I'm going to scroll through real quick. Hubbard BMX Raceway says that, hello, Toby. My first real BMX bike was a Rally Rampar. Click on my avatar.
Yeah, I had one too. I know about it.
Robert Cardoza says hello, and he wanted me to pass along. He says hi, and Alice Bixler checks in from Sarasota.
Alice.
Jeff Schroeder checking in. Stephen Latchford checking in, saying hi. Len Novak is asking if you're going to be at the track next weekend.
Yes, City of Industry. Yes.
Okay. And Jeff had said when you were telling us the story about jumping up on the table in the boardroom, he heard that story at Patterson's party Friday night.
Yep.
And I apologize. The monitor that has the chat in it's over here. Damon Toots. Right there. Okay. Damon Tootson, he's one of the other co-hosts here on the show, and DJ. He says he loves his box cranks, and I tell you, he went through a bunch of cranks before he finally dropped the coin and just
several
went
different brands.
Yeah. Just was like and he went with the box crank, and yeah, that was a couple years ago. He's had no problems with it at all. Jim Bosco says the e-bike is a lazy man's bike.
Until you own one and ride one. All my friends said the same thing, man. You're cheating. That was 10 years ago. They all have them now. So yeah. They'll learn. So
I test rode one, and I was like, I absolutely understand why someone would have one.
Yeah.
Just the simple fact of
I've taken them for a ride.
Yeah.
I do not have one.
When
I don't know.
It was Intense came out with theirs. I rode it over at Magic, and I'm like, dude, you totally could take this out and get back up the trail so much faster to come back down. And we don't really have mountains. We don't have mountains here in Michigan. We have landfills that we call mountains. So, it's like, you could scoot up real quick, get some more runs in the same amount of time. Like, I'd be all for that. Scott Salone saying hello. Calvary BMX checking in. Hey, what's going on, guys? And he wanted to say thanks, Toby, that their team, Calvary, runs box components. And last but not least, Low and Slow's checking in. Hey, if you guys got a question for Toby, put it in the chat. We'll get it on for you. Sure. If you guys got any comments or anything like that, you want to pass it along, please put it in the chat. And we want to thank BMX Rocks for sponsoring the chat. All right. Got that done.
That was cool.
Oh, Brandon Shaw says Toby is the man.
Brandon was out here a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he brought Chip Foos to my office. So, Brandon, you're the man. Bring Chip Foos by my office. That was awesome.
I bet that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. We got it was great. I put it on my wall too. So Chip sees of something I'm working on. I took him to the lab, and we have a full lab at Box and test machines and everything. It's mostly for the drivetrain. And he asked why a certain part wasn't a certain way. I'm not going to go into it. And I said, I don't know, this or that. He starts to draw what he envisioning this part to be.
That had to be cool.
And here's Chip Foos with this piece of scrap paper in my shop writing this stuff down. He goes, I think it should be something like this. I took that piece of paper, it still hangs on my walls. Like, Chip Foos drew that. I should have had him sign it, right? So,
right.
Yeah. So I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed. I didn't want to act like a super fan, right? So
right. Yeah, try not to. Yeah, we're kind of doing that over here right now.
Chip Foos designed a cool. Chip Foos designed a casino here in Michigan.
Oh, really?
He did Motor City Casino.
Motor City Casino.
So that's pretty awesome. He's drawing up parts and stuff, man. That's really cool.
Yeah, because he's a BMX fan.
Yeah, he is. He has a BMX. Yeah, he had BMX bikes when he was a kid, but he's a bicycle fan overall. He has penny farthers and he has a collection of bicycles, a pretty vast one, I guess. But
Yeah.
and BMX is a part of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen he
So,
had a couple old red lines, I think I saw somewhere along the way. Yeah.
Very cool.
yeah.
That is cool. Yeah. But I want to ask you about something. I want to go back in history for a second. There's a cover, BMX Action Magazine, where you're jumping into a lake.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about that?
Well, so it was funny. I grew up as a water skier. When my family, we water skied, and I was kind of the outcast because I was riding a BMX bike. But I grew up as a water skier at a lake called Canyon Lake out here. And Oz one day said, we want to go shooting. And somehow we wound up near the lake. And I said, yeah, I know how to get in this back door. We can get on down to the beach area, and I'll do some berm shots in the beach. So we get over there. It doesn't work out. It's too sandy. I really can't get a run at the beach and do some berm shots and stuff. And
Okay.
well, RL was there, and he had a ramp in the back of the truck. He had this ramp, right, that they were carrying around with them. And I said, well, I'll just jump into the water, right? So I was like, yeah, let's do it, man. Let's do it. So we pulled some scissors out of somebody's car, and I cut the legs off my pants. I think the first time I went in, I had a hard time swimming out. So let's just cut these pants off. And I remember when we did that, the big thing was, oh my God, he took a pair of JTs and he cut the legs off. It's like, I had so many of those pants, right? It was, for me, it was like, I cut the legs off. So
Well, those things had the pads built into the legs, so they probably soaked the water, absorbed the water, and made them all heavy and stuff.
Yeah, I couldn't swim back out every time I was landing. And we had no rope, no buoys, and nothing. So every time I did a jump, I would basically do some crazy thing in the air. And as you look at the cover, I got the one leg on, but I'd have to land and make sure my bike was still in my hand, because if I didn't, it's going down, right? And then swim with my bike back to the shore.
Oh my gosh.
And if you look at the picture closely, there's no grips on the bike. We didn't have lock-ons back then. I did have those JT gloves with the those like almost like socks that had little bumps on them.
Oh yeah.
I was wearing those, so I was able to hang on, but the grips came right off, so they had to come off the bike. But I don't know, we shot typical Oz day 100 times, right? Jumping into the lake. And I think a couple other guys jumped into the lake, but I forget. Actually, I think maybe Botima was there, maybe some Murray guys or something. But yeah, got the cover out of that shot. And the biggest thing was he cut his pants, man.
Really?
Yeah.
So hey, you had the shorts before they were cool.
Before they were cool, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And that was a lake I grew up skiing on, so
Yeah.
just coincidence, yeah.
Yeah, I just remember that cover. I thought that was the coolest thing. I'm like, look at that. That is something different.
Well, that's a good segue to ask about the nickname, how he gave you the nickname Coca-Cola Cowboy. Now, how'd that come about? And then follow up with how it went from that nickname to Captain Elbows.
Oh, man, it's good stuff. Hated Coca-Cola Cowboy. Couldn't stand it. Never understood why. It's almost embarrassing. We'll get to the second, but I didn't know this until Big BMX Show, Big Bike BMX with Isaac
and those guys.
Craig.
Yeah.
They're the ones. So Isaac called Oz just about 2 years ago and asked Oz why he called me that, because I told Isaac, I don't know. The very first night I went out with Oz, and right before I almost won the championship, the NBL championship, he took me and Botima to dinner one night, and I remember distinctly having a Dr. Pepper. I remember that. That's what we all drink back then. So how does Coca-Cola come into this thing? But the story goes something like this: that Isaac asked him. He said, when he saw me, he was looking for a name. I had this bronze look and this whole thing. And the biggest thing was Rhinestone Cowboy was the big song at the time.
All right.
And he was looking for a name for this persona that I had, which is a little embarrassing to say what that was. Yeah, so Coca-Cola Cowboy came out of that. He just from Rhinestone Cowboy. He thought I had this persona and had this look, and he needed a nickname. He just went with it. Of course, the first time I saw it in a magazine, I went, "Oh my God!" It's like like pork chop or something like that, right? I mean,
Right.
it's like how do you get stuck with that name? So
Yeah.
probably the reason why Captain Elbows came out was because I probably did everything in my power to not walk around with Captain Elbow or with Coca-Cola Cowboy on my back, right, or on my
Right.
in the magazine. So, but no, Coca-Cola, the Captain Elbows happened. I started winning a lot, and somewhere during my Hutch days, I started winning a lot. I was winning almost all the nationals there for quite a while, and I would just fight my way to the front. I wasn't always the best starter, so I'd have to fight my way through the pack, and I was bouncing off guys, which I don't know if we all know that, but back in that day, it was a contact sport. That's what we did. And I ride with my elbows out. And Stuart still says today, he goes, "You have to go around your elbow." He always have to go around my elbow. So someone called me Captain Elbows only because I was winning a lot and I was using my elbows to get to the finish line, right? So yeah,
Hey,
and I like that one a lot better,
right?
than Cowboy. Yeah.
But that was kind of Oz's deal from what I've read and seen some interviews with him and stuff. Is he tried to like invent personas of all you pros back then and tried to even make some controversy, or this one doesn't like that one even though that wasn't really there, just to kind of promote all of the pros at the time and make them this larger than life people.
Yeah, as you guys know, I see it on the screen. BMX Action is now a 501c3 that my wife Jill and I created. We found the logos or the trademarks in despair many years ago. So we went in and basically captured those back, put them under our control so they didn't get out to somebody who didn't care about the sport. And then we flew to Montana and we sat down with Oz and said, "Hey, I have these trademarks. I got them all. I got BMX Action, Bicycle Motocross Action, wordmark, trademark, logos, everything, which is like four different ones." And I said, "If you want them back, they're here. I'll hand them back to you right now." But our vision was to create the 501c3 nonprofit to preserve and promote all things BMX. And when I told him that, he basically looked at me and said, "I'd rather nobody have it but you," which was pretty endearing to hear that. So my wife and I kind of taken it over. She's doing a good job with it. It was a big part of what Frogtown was about. We created a magazine for Frogtown the last 2 years, and so we flew Oz out to Frogtown, and he spent a day at Frogtown with us. Had to manage the whole thing, but we got him out there, and everybody was tickled to death to see him and all that. But I try to give him what you said. I try to give him that glory. He won't take it. He says that it was the most he'll do was a combined effort. He really wants to give it to the riders and the athletes, and he was just a bystander. And I was proud to take you. I was honored to take your photo. These are the words that come out of his mouth. When I'm trying to tell him, no, if it wasn't for a guy like you, these hero type guys wouldn't exist, and he just doesn't want to take that credit, which is pretty crazy. But none of the other magazines did what Oz did. They didn't give us that. They didn't put us in that same light. And the photos he took, the words he used, Cosmo the cat, all these things he's created, right? Dear Wiz, which we actually, my wife got some more out of him. It's in the new magazine. So if you guys get a chance, they're available somewhere on BMX Action or I think in the next few days, but you can buy the magazine from Frogtown. And there's Dear Wiz articles in there that he rewrote for us. And we had put a poll out to ask him. Yeah, we did all that stuff. We should have. I don't know why you guys didn't get tagged in that, but
that's rad.
Yeah, so
you got to use that.
We had a lot of questions come in. He's willing to write some more. We'll work on that with him in the future. But he had it, and he just doesn't accept it. So I don't know that we'll ever know what was he thinking when he was doing this. The controversial part, I don't know, but just the larger than life, like you said, was something he had a knack for, man. Unreal what this guy did, and the picture of my truck with the 4-wheel drive trophy, our 4-wheel drive Toby license plate, that kind of stuff. I mean, who does that kind of stuff?
I remember that the big 4-wheel drive lifted up truck.
Yeah, and he took a picture of the back of my truck, and our bikes are hanging out of the back of it, and of course, Haro's drawing similar type of scenarios of us, but just because I had this customized license plate on my truck, and which was at one point cool, not anymore, but at one point
Right.
it was kind of cool, and yeah. Anyway, so that kind of stuff he zoned in on, and he, remember the picture of Stewart jumping over the Porsche, and
Yeah.
or Timmy Judge or somebody, and that kind of stuff he just did, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's our website. We need some help with all this stuff. We're looking for volunteers to help us with this, but it's not the volunteers; it's managing all this stuff.
Right.
It's
Oh,
it's not easy. Yeah, yeah.
well,
That's a symposium we did last year with him. We got him to come out symposium. We had a bunch of guests and kind of surprised him with that, and
Oh, yeah.
Is that
we
Scott
all got
Town?
up and said the same story. It's Bob Harrow. Yes.
No, is that
Yeah.
next to Bob Osborne in the pink shirt? Is that Scott Town?
Scott Town, and I can't see because the logo's front, but
Yeah.
I think that's Scott Town. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, well, we've had he's been on the show.
Yeah.
And we had, So yeah. So he's very definitely different, right? So
Yeah.
only one Oz for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I've got his.
Stuart and
That
Clyde.
should be on our what, like,
I got his complete book of BMX by him.
oh, yeah. Yeah.
That was a gift Melissa got me. She chased down on eBay.
Old copy of it.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's, he would be an interesting one to talk to. That's for sure. Yeah. That would be fun.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Jill and I went to. So he has this, he's known for his photography now. His Cowboys and Indians photography, and he
Yes.
has a studio in Livingston, Montana. The pictures are absolutely incredible. You can see every pore in their face and all that stuff. So we had went to a gallery opening last 2 years ago when we told him about the magazine. I went to a gallery opening he was having, and the gallery owner, like, what are you guys doing here? Who are you? Are you going to buy something, kind of thing, right? Right now, we're just here. We're just here to see Oz. She goes, well, how do you know him? And I said, from BMX. And I started explaining to her, who he was in the past. She had no idea.
really?
Zero. He had never told her. Yeah, nothing. Nothing. And another kid had come off the mountain, who worked on the mountain bicycle guy, and recognized he was having this gallery. He walked in kind of saying the same thing. The gallery owner's looking at her like, we knew nothing about his BMX background. We're here to present Cowboys and Indians, these absolutely crazy photos he takes of street people, street Indians and cowboys and things like that. Out in
Wow.
Montana. Yeah.
Oh,
That's who we
Wow.
are now. So.
So he's a pretty modest person. He just doesn't, keeps that to himself. Eh?
Yeah, unless you say something he doesn't agree with, he'll let you know.
what's your future plans for the magazine?
Well, people have asked us to create a magazine again. I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. The idea was to, just like I said, to create the nonprofit to do something with the sport, preserve and promote. We really haven't. There's been a couple of people who said they would create a magazine with us, and we, obviously license the name out and do these kind of things, but I haven't really put any deals together.
Mm-hmm.
But Frogtown was one of ours. I mean, we did a plaque at Frogtown commemorating all the people that put the UBR together, ran that track at the time. We put that down in some concrete, had a gala with a bunch of people, and I made a speech. So, and with the money flowed through the foundation, was able to buy that plaque from people like Vance Patterson, Gary Turner, all donated money to do that. So that's kind of what we're doing with it right now. We're just trying to preserve and promote BMX as a whole. We've only had the 501c3 for about a little over a year, so we're still trying to figure out exactly what we're going to do with it. One of the options is a magazine, but a coffee table type book, maybe. But people are coming out of the woodwork, and we've had a lot of volunteers, but managing the volunteers is the hard part. How do you?
Sure.
Yeah, that's a whole job in itself. So.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
it's kind of like being a track operator. You got a ton of volunteers. You got to get them all to, take a little piece here and help with this little thing here and there, and managing all that can get a little crazy.
Yeah, pick up a shovel, put the dirt over there, put the post over there. Yeah, I can imagine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say that the issue that you did for the Frogtown last year, when I was in Florida and I was visiting Jeff at his place, I got to go through it and look at it and pick a copy up. Very, very well done.
Yeah. No, that obviously Bob had anything to do with that. My wife worked on that a bunch, but that's really credited to Todd Huffman and the team of people he put together. Some ex-GT guys. Still always forget Still's first name. But Yeah, that was a pretty tough thing to do, and they were a little bit late to this Frogtown with one, and it came in, of course, the Sunday after the race. So, but yeah, so they're going to be available here the next week or two. So
Very cool.
they're really nice book, got a good cover. I'm really commemorating the past and the future and the sport of BMX for sure, and the legacy of it, sir. So.
Okay.
Very
When
cool.
you make a post on that, let us know, and we'll share it on our pages and stuff so folks can check that out.
Yep.
That sounds really
Something
cool.
I wanted to touch on
get
real
one.
quick is, I don't know how many, I've talked about this a few times when I'm at the track, because I really dig this program that you have, and you've got multiple sponsor programs. So you have the affiliate program, the team sponsor, you have Box Bucks, and then you have the BMX Level Up program.
Right.
I really, really dig the BMX Level Up program, and
Thank you.
I'll let you I'll let you explain it, because I think it's something that more people should know, need to check out, because it's a really cool grow with you program. But
That's a double-edged sword. We'll get into that a little bit, but we also have the Pro Contingency ambassador program. But the Pro Contingency is how it all kind of evolved. Was all these pros come to us, and I love the pros, but it's not like it used to be. I'll just say that.
Okay.
So the pros come to us and they want sponsorship, and I'm like, well, if you win, I'll pay you. Well, what do you mean? I go, if you're that confident, you're going to win, so I'm going to pay you a lot of money. Right. So, of course, that never really pans out for them because only a few guys are winning. Right. So I created a contingency program for the pros, which is pretty vast. It's European, it's US, European, Australian, Pan Am games. So any guys who run box product can get paid first through eighth place. And then we do some box bucks, which we'll get into, which is for the younger guys in the big hill class.
Mm-hmm.
That's called box bucks. Then there's the pro class. And then we do some 16, 17-year-old stuff in the Pan Am games for the upcoming kids. But in the end, it's close to $100,000 on the line that you can win from us. All you have to do is run our plate and one other product, right? Fork, crank, or something, right? And that gives us the exposure we're looking for. And that also says, hey, if you can win, like you tell me, there's plenty of money there for you guys, right? And we're write checks every week. Carlos Ramirez did really well in Louisville. Wrote a fat check for him yesterday for his, I think he got 2/3 and a fourth in Louisville. Nick Keeman, he makes a lot of money from us, from his world championships and his medals and things. So, yeah, so that's the pro contingency. And then we took that down to box bucks, which is for big hill. In Europe, they call it U23, which we do pay for that as well. But it's basically for the what's the class they call it? Super X?
Super X. Yep.
Yeah.
Super X, yeah. So the Super X class, which is relatively new class, we're paying for those kids. It's all only the big hill races, but it gives a chance for the young guys to make some money with the same idea. You run our plate, run a fork, and you make some pretty good money for these guys. And we're just starting to see, I've had it for a few years, but we really put a lot of emphasis this year on promoting it. Thomas is our new brand manager. He's put a lot of emphasis promoting it out there. So we're starting to write a lot of checks. So it's starting to work to where guys are running our product, appreciate it. And it's not small. I mean, it may be small money, but hey, at least your weekend's paid for. At least your entry fees are handled. At least, you got to leave with something in your pocket. All we're saying is run the number plate and a couple products of ours, right? So, and we think our products are good enough that they need it. And once they do use it, they realize, hey, this stuff actually works, and they continue to use it. But going to level up, Justin, it's kind of the same thing. So we decided many years ago, how do we help the kids who come to us who can't get the product or can't get sponsorship? Because that's what they all want to be about. So we basically created a program. We had some changes along the way. It was funny. We started this whole thing off with your wins at the races, how well you are, you're novice expert. There you go. Where do you set into it? So box 5 being the lowest, box 1 being the highest. And we're gonna announce something at the Grands again that goes above that. So how do you get there? And it gives you certain discounts, and you buy a jersey and you get a discount for as long as you are. And if you level up, meaning I started as a box 5 kid, I'm a beginner, but I become an intermediate or I become an expert. You get to level up. Your discounts become bigger. You get closer to us. You get more information out of us. So it's kind of a way for the kids just to get involved with the team. We have close to over 1,000 kids now in the last few years involved with us.
Good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So for me, they're out running around and a track in Michigan somewhere, with that jersey on. It's really good for us. Internationally, we've been doing okay with it, but it just gives these kids a place and a sponsorship feel like home. So we started doing it off by your how well you did at the track. Then we had this kid come to us. He wanted sponsorship. He wasn't much of a rider, but he had done some stunts on a motorcycle or something. He had 1 million followers.
Dang.
He's getting. We're like, well, how is that going to work? How do we? So we started including social media into that. Then we have kids who parents don't let them on social media, so they have to have a. So anyway, so we have 2 criteria to do that. It's either your social media status or your win status at USA BMX. But yeah, that's been it. Like I said, we have over 1,000 kids, and each week I see the jerseys come in. Like a local maker makes them. Mm-hmm. They come to us. We put a number plate and sticker kit with it, and send it off to each kid, right? And every week I'm looking in the conference room where they package this up. Wow, that many kids have signed up. It's crazy. Yeah, it's done really, really well for us. So
that's
level
awesome.
up, bachelor program, all the kinds of stuff that we do to try to give back to the sport for sure.
Yeah, and then you also have the affiliate program too.
Yeah, so affiliate program, there's only a few riders to take care. Well, we do it for track operators. We do it for the pros. We do it for level up kids. But basically, yeah, you just bring people to us, buy stuff from us. They get a commission on the stuff like a official affiliate. The lady Vaughn is one. She, for whatever reason, a lot of kids use her code to sign up. When they sign up, they use Delaney's code, and Delaney gets a check from us regularly. She gets a check for winning. She gets a check for affiliate, So, yeah, I mean, in a lot of other industries, a lot of other sports, all this stuff kind of goes on, and we're trying to make sure we keep up with that, right? And make sure we're staying with current trends.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I don't know the right word, but it's kind of backwards. Instead of here's the product, and we're going to pay you X dollars, or we're going to give you this for the year or whatever. It's the other way around. You run our product. You run our plate, you do well, we'll get you some money.
Yeah, and I think that's the way it should be, because, coming from an athlete, I've had a lot of athletes come to me and say, "Oh, pay me." And I'll just say, "I know how much you guys screw around. I'm one of you guys. I'm the last one to ask for money, because I know exactly what your lifestyle is like, right? So
Sure.
I want these guys to earn it, and I had to earn mine. It didn't come free, but yeah, I just figured that was the best way to approach it. There's so many riders, so many people wanting product. We have to put some kind of, earn program towards it, right? And all this is based on that. And I think the Level Up program, if DeVito's listen, I know it's sometimes a pain. It says a double-edged sword, but it does drive riders to dealers. It does drive people to the brand. It does. You see a kid at the track with a jersey on. He might have got a deal on it, but it's such a small part of our business. When I say 1,000 kids, that's really nothing compared to our daily output, right? So, I think it's important that we have that exposure out there, and we hope those kids are driving, our parents and kids back to the dealer to buy something, or an online store where they can get the product. The one problem we have is a lot of kids boast about the discounts, and that's kind of where it screws things all up. I get a discount, and they, but that's the only downfall of the program. But yeah, we've had a few complaints, but overall the program is pretty robust, and we're touching a lot of kids for sure.
Very
That's great.
And actually, Jeff just chimed in. He said that JD Cycle will have the new BMX Action magazine, and we'll be sending them out to the bike shops very soon.
Right. There you go, Jeff. I think we just made that deal today. Actually, my wife was making it before the show, so yeah.
Well,
that's cool.
This would be a good time for us to jump in and do our trivia question for the evening.
Oh, okay.
All right. It's going to be the Melissa's trivia question this evening. And we'll
do our best.
I want to thank Bombshell for sponsoring the trivia segment. And we got a good question this evening because it was sent in. Made it really easy for us.
Gotta like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, Chris, you want to show them the prize pack you got this evening?
So we get our sticker pack with our danger snacks in there. So we have that. All kinds of different stickers. We got ATB stickers, Mighty Mo's BMX Cruise. I mean, bombshell stick. We got them all in there.
Whoever sends them in, we just pack them in
Hey,
there.
send stickers to us. We'll put them in here. We also have a visor from Getaware. So that's cool. Thank you, Getaware. And then we have which way does this go? Bombshell T-shirt.
There you go.
Oh, I'm holding it in the wrong spot. That's why I don't do this. So we have a T-shirt. So if you get the trivia question right, we will send that.
Here's what
out
we're going to do with
you.
the trivia question. We've got a big race coming up, and we like to sponsor those races and give back, right?
Yes, sir.
So the winner, we're going to take the prize pack. And this weekend is Michigan State Championship. So we're going to take that prize pack with your name, and we're going to give it to the Waterford Oaks track and let them use it for gift basket or mystery moto, whatever they want to use it for.
That's cool.
Sometimes they put them in and make raffle baskets or whatever. So
Yeah, you might do
or
some type of
mystery moto,
auction.
stuff like that. All right, here's the question. All right. What other famous BMXer that attended Frogtown this weekend, leaving in a wheelchair, has the very same birthday as our guest Toby has? So let me go over that again for you. What other famous BMXer that attended Frogtown this weekend, left in a wheelchair, shares the same birthday as our guest?
Ooh.
Yeah, it's the person that shares the birthday is the one that sent it.
But not the same age, lucky guy.
Oh, not the same year, but the same date.
Yep.
All right.
All right, and with that, we're going to slide over.
Oh, wait, all right, I got a question.
You do?
You didn't put the elbows out and take this person out and put them in the wheelchair, did you?
Ah.
No, I didn't get to that. I would have if I could have, but I wasn't lucky and fortunate to be that guy. You got to be somebody else.
He had help from somebody else.
All right, now it's time for Lightning Round. It's brought to you by 110 Nutrition. Just to let you guys know, the 110 Super Greens are in stock. You can order now. Go on the website and order them.
110nutrition.com. Pick those up.
There you go. All right. We ready?
I'm ready.
Rapid fire. Are you
Okay.
ready, Toby?
Yes.
All right. So first thing pops in your head. What is the last movie you liked it so much you watched it twice?
Oh man, Lion King.
All right. Your favorite sport other than BMX?
Oh man, mountain biking.
All right.
Hey, it's a different sport.
There you go.
All right. One place you would like to visit you've never been before.
Wow. Boy. Man, I've been everywhere. There's a lot of places. That's tough, man. A lot of countries. Wow. I don't know, bottom of the ocean. That's all I can come up with, man.
Okay. I thought he was going to say Heartland, Michigan.
Oh, that's on the list too, but yeah.
It's a real big one-stop flight here.
Right.
What's the last thing that you Googled?
Oh, today, usually about bike parts. What did I Google today? I do it all the time. I had a meeting address.
Okay.
So
Okay. What is your favorite thing to do on a date with your wife?
oh man, steak and glass of wine, I guess.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Is your bed made right now?
No.
It's always an interesting one.
Well, her side is, my side's not.
Let's see. Shoot. Oh, do you believe in the supernatural, like ghosts and that type of thing?
No.
Okay.
Other things, but not that.
All right. If you could transform into an animal, which one would it be?
I want to say something really bad, but I'm not going to. Lion King.
All right.
Oh, now we're all wondering. All right. Here. This is a good one for you. BMX race frame, chrome moly, aluminum, or carbon fiber.
In today's world?
Yep.
Carbon.
Carbon.
Okay. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self a piece of advice, what would it be?
Save your money.
What's your favorite guilty pleasure?
Wine. Yeah.
Okay.
Red wine.
If you had to change your first name, what would you change it to?
Theodore.
All right.
I don't know. First thing that came to my mind, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Living with Toby's bad enough. Theodore can't be much better.
Well, I knew he wasn't going to say Coca-Cola Cowboy. What's your favorite genre of music to listen to?
Wow. Classical.
Okay. Your favorite type of cookie?
White macadamia.
That's 2
White
weeks in a
chocolate.
row.
That is.
That's 2 weeks
Yeah.
in a row.
Yeah, that's Eddie Fiola's favorite cookie, too.
Really? Okay.
Would your 12-year-old self think you are cool?
No, but my 13-year-old, damn cool.
All right.
I wasn't quite there yet.
All right. Here's one we got from Mike Miller. We talked about it earlier. You pull into a parking lot. You turn down a row of parking spots. There's a spot on both sides that's open. Do you turn left to park or do you turn right to park?
Left.
Okay.
That is 100%. That's
Been the go-to.
Every person said that so far that we've asked that to.
Oh, wow.
Favorite holiday that you celebrate?
Christmas.
Christmas.
All right.
Actually, slow down for Christmas.
This is the last one. It's an extremely difficult one. Your favorite Wednesday night live streaming podcast BMX show.
All Things BMX Show.
All right. Yes. All right. Thank you.
Oh.
No.
Right.
We had actually, believe it or not, we had 1, 2.
You got an answer?
Was it 2 people or 3 people got it right? Brian Fell's answer was the best. He just said, dude. It's the Jeff DeVito dude. And then Dave D'Ortonia. He also got it also. Our sponsor for one of the sponsors out there at DB Sports.
DB Sports World,
Yep.
all right. Yeah.
It was not Dick Cheeseburger or Tom Brady, and it was not Kenny McNamara. No, it wasn't any of those.
Who got banged up pretty bad this last weekend.
Yeah. It was, yes, it was Jeff DeVito for the win.
Yeah, 10-10, so they don't know. You never said the date, but 10-10, which is even a special date, right?
10-10.
10-10.
10. Yeah.
Huh.
It's amazing that that's all it took and that many people knew.
That is something, actually.
Like maybe the wheelchair part gave it a little away for Dave, but
maybe.
I was going to give some hints, but I thought I wasn't so sure I'd get in trouble. So, yeah.
No.
Got it. Brian was the first answer, like literally the first one. And
no, Brian fell.
Dave chimed in.
Well, he worked for Jeff for a long time, right?
He did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. We're going to do next week real quick.
Yeah, we'll let everyone know who our guest is next week.
All right. Next week, Justin and Melissa will be talking to Greg Esser.
That's right.
I will be off next week. So Greg Esser, that'll be a real interesting one to find out a lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
You guys will like that.
Chris is going to be gone on the Mighty Mo BMX cruise.
Yep.
Maybe we'll call Mo during the show.
Oh, next week?
And we'll get a cake tally.
So who's the guest person on the cruise?
Jason Richardson.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. And Stu Thompson's going to be on there as well, but he was the guest speaker last year, but he's just going as a participant in the cruise this year.
Huh. Well, he's retired. He has time. So.
Yeah, right. He's also going to be competing at the pool. They have a belly flop contest.
Stu's going to be in it this year?
He's the representative for Mighty Mo's BMX cruise in the belly flop contest.
That's hilarious.
Well, he still has a 6-pack, so he might be okay with it. So,
right? Yeah, he should be good. Right, where are we?
Well, I know we didn't get to nearly.
We didn't get to.
We barely scratched the surface.
I mean,
we'd love to have you back on if you would like to join us again.
Of course.
Perfect.
I just want to run through this really quick.
What?
This is mostly for the old school guys.
Oh, go ahead.
Toby has Box Components, Race Inc., Cook Brothers, Botima, BMX Action, Kuhara, those are all companies that he's got under his American BMX Company brand name. So
Yes, long story, but yes, different owners, different things. But Cool Heart is a royalty deal. BMX Action's its own now. Botima, such a good friend of mine. He never really had one. We kind of created that for him. He was dead for a long time, but yeah, we bought Race Inc. from a guy, Chris, out of Indiana. So they just all came in a box we created from scratch.
Chris Hancock.
Hancock, yes,
Yep.
I always remember the last name.
Yep.
I had T.H.E, Intense BMX, signs. We talk about out of the catalog brand. That was my out of the TBG brand sign. The kids called it Sins, but the name was Signs.
I did not know that. I always knew it as Sins.
Really?
Yeah, everyone. I mean, at that point, I just let it go at that point. But
Yeah.
created that one from scratch. That's my TBG one. But I sold that company 12 years ago, which had T.H.E, Intense BMX, Signs, and something else. We had something else, bigger helmets. So
Yeah. Oh, the T.H.E stuff was really cool. You know, the knee pads, the number plates, the helmets.
Yeah.
That was good stuff.
I did not know that Viger was under there.
Yeah. Those. It was funny how that all happened. I was writing for Bigger, like not Viger, but Vigor.
Vigor.
And it was owned by HJC Helmets.
Okay.
And when I started trying to get into the scene of selling stuff, the owner of HJC came to me, which was my sponsor at Vigor, and asked to help me with T.H.E. And that's how the whole helmet thing at T.H.E started. And we started selling. At one point, we were doing about 15,000 helmets a year, carbon fiber helmets per year. It was crazy. It was a lot to the mountain bike crowd, but it was a pretty big deal. So
I was gonna say, weren't you one of the first in BMX with the carbon fiber helmet?
Troy Lee was there first.
Okay.
It was funny. I had called Troy and told him I was going to do this, and you'll just basically solidify everything I'm doing. Well, when I started selling 15,000 a year, he wasn't so happy because I think we pinched a little bit on his sales. But after I sold it, it eventually went down. But I sold it to HAC Helmets, and they wound up doing their own brand and stuff. So it's kind of just fizzled away. But yeah, good stuff.
Didn't you have Pro Max at one time also?
Pro Max 2, I sold that off to QBP. So QBP has that now.
Okay.
Not really near you guys, but up in your area.
Okay. Cool. So shoot, we haven't even touched on all this stuff. This is
you don't want to get us a lot to talk about. How I wound up with them, how I got rid of them. Did I lose money on that one? Did I make money in the other one? I don't know. Yeah, all that stuff, right?
Right.
Man, Moto 2 is already packed.
It is, because we didn't even get to ask about the RA20 and all that stuff.
No, man, that's what happens.
Okay. You'll have to too.
The bikes they custom made for Botima and I at Raleigh in London, or Nottingham, I should say, and they made us custom 753 bikes. Mine lasted about a day. Botima had his for a lifetime. I don't know. He kept everything. But yeah, just some experiences that we had, they made us road bikes measuring our elbow to our knuckles. Just the crazy stuff that we got to go through. Wow. And when you asked me where I want to go see, I was, on the lightning round, I saw so much. And if it wasn't for cycling or BMX or mountain biking, I would have never had that life. Right. So
yeah,
sure.
It was really hard for me to come up with something because I've seen so much, and I want to see more, a lot more. My wife and I love to travel. We just got back from Frankfurt show, Germany, Eurobike, then we went off to France for a little bit of vacation. But yeah, the trade shows and the racing and all that gets to take me all over the world. So I'm very fortunate for sure.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
It kind of goes to the Donnie Robinson thing. Where will two wheels take you?
Yeah. Gotta work hard at it. And you got to stay up. You got to stay upright.
For sure.
I saw a lot of videos of people crashing out there. One they had me cracking up was Todd Lyons going around a corner and he did like a sideways kind of an off kilter cartwheel.
Oh really? I didn't miss that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was slippery and we were having fun and we were all a little bit rusty and it was good.
That's what it's about, just having a good time.
That's the thing I like to see is like, not everyone races still. And it seems like these events are the things that gets everybody back, everybody talking, everybody just hanging out. Then they get to all go and, bang bars on the track and they're all having fun.
Well, I went to the first one 3 years ago, so I've been to all of them, and each year it's got definitely exponentially bigger.
Yeah.
So I think next year's even going to be even bring out the motocross. So I got to meet Jerry McGrath, one of my heroes.
Mhm.
So I
Yes.
sat down with him at the autograph station. He saw my crash. I didn't know how I crashed, but basically I got up to speeds, started going really fast, really comfortable with the track, and I let some air out of my front tire to handle the bumps. And when I hit the face of this jump at the fastest I had gone, and the face had a nice groove in it, and the tire just kind of folded off the rim and put me over the bars. And I had no idea why I crashed. I thought I made a mistake. I I don't know what I had done wrong. And Jeremy walked up. He goes, "No, your tire folded." So he saw the whole thing. So that's how we, started being buddies. Got to hang out the weekend a little bit together. But so guys like that are there too. Is my point. Bob Hanna was there last year, and just getting a lot of people out there. It's good.
So
Something
cool.
else I noticed too is like the pictures everyone's posting and sharing of that event. Everyone's smiling, whether they're on the track or eating, crashing, like hanging out, like this. Everyone's smiling, and that's
I think if you win, it's just a big smile. But if you don't, it's still okay. I think that's the vibe, right?
Yeah,
if you win, it's just icing on the cake. But the fact you're there and getting to do it is what's making everybody smile. No pressure. No pressure.
It looks kind of like a huge class reunion type thing.
That's good.
Unless you're trying to beat Stewart, but that's that's on me.
Well, I don't know if it was this year or last year. I was watching Rick Carter's shot in the side hack race.
Gosh.
It was, it was just him laughing most of the way around. They crashed. He laughed. They went a little bit farther. They crashed. Everyone's laughing. The people going by him are laughing on the sides. They're smiling, cheering him all on. Yeah, it looks like a good time. We just got to get one of those events out here towards the East Coast.
Well, they had a Dirty Fest in Texas that B.R. Anderson put on, and I think that was when I was in France and missed that July or something. So I think they're going to pop up a little bit. Just take a bulldozer and carve out a track down some little hill and put a couple hay bales down and a finish line. That's all you need. You don't need much.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like too.
Yeah, because either we have now start a whole nother argument again. We have the second oldest track in the United States here in Waterford Oaks, but it is not like it was in 1974 by any means. So it wouldn't work for this event because they need an old school style track. But
we got plenty of landfill mountains we could use.
We could figure it out.
We could figure it out there.
So somebody get on that. We don't have time for that. Somebody else get on that.
We're going to toss it over to you, Toby, for shout outs and to take us out here. All right.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks, Chris and Justin, for having me. All Things BMX Show. I want to thank my wife, the people I work with, and the sport of BMX for everything it's ever done for me and my family and the people around me. But guys like yourself, we can't appreciate it enough. I think without guys like you in a show like this, we wouldn't be able to have this fun and talk about this stuff. So I really appreciate what you guys are doing. And come to bmxaction.org. I see it right there online, and try to support us, and we'll all try together to keep the sport alive, right?
Absolutely.
For sure.
All right, and if you can, just hang out for a few minutes after we sign off. That way we can grab another date before we let you go. Chris, if you want to, take us on out.
All right. Yeah. Again, Toby, thank you very much. It's this is the first time I've met you. You're one of the guys. I had your lake jumping picture on my wall when I was a teenager. So it's really cool to meet you, and thank you for being on the show. Everybody else that's tuned in tonight, thank you for joining us. Make sure you give us a little like, subscribe. Just reach over there and hit that little like button for us really quick. We'd appreciate it. And share it with all your friends as well. Anybody old school or new school that wants, that would appreciate the show, share it for us. We'd appreciate that. Other than that, have a great week. I'll see you on Mighty Mo's BMX Cruise next week, and enjoy. Greg Esser will be our guest next week. Enjoy that. God bless you, and I'm going to hand it over to Justin.
All right, thanks, Chris. From everyone here at All Things BMX, we appreciate you guys tuning in this evening. And again, to our guest, Toby, for joining us. You guys don't forget, the podcast version will be up within probably about the next 3 or 4 hours. So you guys check that out. And you can always watch the replay over on YouTube or Facebook. Again, thank you guys all for joining us this evening. We'll see you next week.